Welcome to Mormon Book Reviews, where an evangelical encounters the restoration. I am your host, Stephen Pynakker. And on this very next book review that I'm going to be talking about, it's going to be kind of a controversial subject because it has to do with mental illness, sexuality, depression, religious scrupulosity, which is a type of OCD. This is actually pretty heavy topics, and I know not everybody is going to be comfortable with the discussion that takes place in this book. But I actually think this is actually a very important book and very insightful, whether you're a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints or of the Restoration or evangelical or Christian. The name of the book that I'm reviewing is called Sealed, An Unexpected Journey in the Heart of Grace by Katie Langston. Katie was raised in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and she suffered a lot of anxiety and depression as a young child, and a lot of it stemmed from what some would call the high demands of a religion, and it really affected her because she suffered what we would now call religious scrupulosity, which is a type of OCD, and it's basically a lot of Catholics suffer from it, and people in groups that where a lot of it is expected of the members, and so sometimes it can be very, very difficult for the person who suffers from this particular condition when they're in a religious environment. Katie's story is very unique because it's a story that weaves her family history, especially as it relates to the females in her family, from her mother to her grandmother, and even some ancestors that she talks about. It's truly a wonderful story that's being told, wonderful in the sense that it's remarkable that she's been able to get through what she's been able to get through. And as a Christian, folks, I just want to say this channel is not about proselytizing, and it's not trying to say, like, you got to leave the church or you got to join my church. Mine's the true church. Yours isn't, whatever. It's all about actually us being able to all sit at the table and have these conversations. Now, I know it's controversial because Katie Langston is no longer a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Her journey took her out of the church, and she can be critical of the church in the book. I will warn my readers that the F word is used in this book. There are references to masturbation in this book. And so there are topics that are going to make some people feel uncomfortable. But this is Katie's story. I remember my mom even going to me and saying, why does she have to use that language? Because I'm like, well, Mom, that's part of her story. And so she's just being her, what we could call today, her authentic self within that context. Well, I interviewed Katie on my program, and it was really a wonderful interview, and I'm going to leave at the end screen, I'm going to have a link to that interview that I had with Katie. She has now just recently been ordained as a reverend in the Lutheran Church. The particular branch she is with the Evangelical Lutheran Church of America, which is actually the mainline, a more mainstream, progressive wing of Lutheranism. And she felt called into the ministry, and even while she was still LDS, it was quite a difficult thing for them to accept that she would be going to a Lutheran school and then also get into the ministry, because of course women do not have the priesthood in the context of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, so that caused some issues. The story that she tells is the journey that she's on. It's really an emotional roller coaster. I actually loaned it to one of my neighbors, and she could only get halfway through it. So I'm not saying it's an easy read, but it's an important read. And it's really important because, within the context, as I understand, is the idea of grace and what Jesus did for us at the cross. And also the idea that, we talk about works-based religion. And, I always tell people it's not the work that we do, it's the work that he does in us. And that's what the works are all about. And I know that many people within the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints are moving in a more grace-based direction. Just to tell you a little bit about Katie's church, like I said, it is a liberal church. She just recently got ordained as a minister in Utah, so she now actually lives in Utah. And she just wants to be able to spread the message of grace into the context of what a Protestant view of grace is, and would like to share that with people in the Utah area. She's not there to necessarily proselytize. She's just there to be able to minister to people that might be in a dark place, and they need somebody to talk to. and they also need ministry. So I think it's really important that we can have these conversations, that not every church is for everybody. And sometimes people need to get out of places that maybe they consider toxic. I'm not telling people to leave the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, because that's not the purpose of my show. But I am here to help tell Katie's story. And Katie's story is an important one that people need to acknowledge, that people do leave the church. She's not anti-Mormon. She is critical of the church where she feels it's appropriate, but she just wants to share her story, and I think it's a really important book. And this is a very unusual book. This was not a book I would normally read, but she reached out to me. The publisher graciously sent me a copy of this book. Thoroughly enjoyed it. My mom enjoyed it. I just thought it's definitely a book that's worth checking out, not without controversy, and I've given you all the warnings for those of you who are more sensitive to such topics. But again, I think that these are good things to talk about. So here is the official book review of Sealed: An Unexpected Journey into the Heart of Grace by Katie Langston. Everybody is different, and we all are on unique faith journeys. Katie Langston was raised in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. In her book, she details the difficulties of suffering from scrupulosity, a type of religious OCD. The story she tells can be very difficult to hear, especially for members of the church that she left. However, it is important that her story be told, and I think it could be a valuable resource for those who would want to understand why people leave the church. As an evangelical, I also think it would be a good read to help as an introduction to the classical doctrine of grace in a Protestant context. Not without controversy, and I understand why this book wouldn't be for everyone. I do recommend it and give it 5 out of 5 stars. I want to thank all my Patreons. I want to encourage you, if you feel that this channel has been of value to you and you'd like to make a contribution, we have it in increments of $5, $10, and $15. Also, I just want to remind you, we are on many of the major podcast formats, so check those out, and we are expanding. Also, contact me at mormonbookreviews@gmail.com, and don't forget to like and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the notification button when a new episode comes out. You all have yourself a great day.